We've seen protests against ICE. We've seen a lot of statements. We've seen calls for action. We've seen asking for folks to be fired or resign. Now, marshmallows. Don't laugh, because this is gaining a lot of traction and it's a bit of a controversy. Let's bring Alex Thill in on this as well. So a local candy shop is doing what they say they can do. You know, they're selling their candy, but they're doing it for a cause and a specific reason. Take us through this one.
Yeah, exactly, Joldy. So Sweet 717, it is a candy store that was initially based in Harrisburg and the Broad Street Market before it burned down. Now it's entirely online, and they posted these photos last night to their Facebook. They're marshmallows that say "Ice Out" on the containers, and their post essentially states that all of the proceeds from these marshmallows are going to families that are, quote, affected by ICE. So families that have been negatively impacted by immigration enforcement, and the first batch is all going to one specific family that the store knows that the father of that family was deported. So all of the proceeds for that batch are going to that family, and the rest of them, they're going to be going, 100% of those profits are going to be going to other families. And this has already gained a lot of traction online. It has about 500 reactions, 100 comments, and they've already sold 500 marshmallows already.
When you say reaction online, is that on their own Facebook, or is it on ours, or where is this coming from?
That's on their own Facebook. So they had initially posted this on their Facebook last night. It had about 100 comments on their Facebook, some backlash as well. And I had reached out to the owner to see if she would be willing to speak with me to elaborate on what the store's mission is. And we initially had an interview set up for today, and she ultimately didn't go through with it because of some of that backlash that she was worried about. She was worried about...
Although let's back up a little bit. In the initial comments, I guess they kind of figured, this is controversial. Not everyone feels the same way about ICE. So they said they were kind of willing to take on some of the backlash that would come, right? Wasn't that one of their comments?
That was one of their comments. That was a comment back to someone who had commented that backlash. So they had responded back and said they were willing to take it.
It may have hit a different level they weren't comfortable with. That's okay. Right. And they have the right to change their mind on this. And then they eventually, though, did give you at least a new, fresh comment on this, right?
Yes, they did. They said that their decision to fundraise is rooted in a simple belief that when people in our community are hurting, we show up. They said they're not here to argue politics, but that their focus is mutual aid, families in crisis, and human dignity. So that is their message.
So they seem to have some specific people in mind. Yes. But when it does come to ICE in Pennsylvania or ICE in our area, what are the facts that we know at this point?
So we know at this point there have been a handful of people who have been detained or deported in central Pennsylvania. I've covered many stories just since being here about families that have experienced those types of situations. We had reached out in the past to people specifically in Dauphin County, city council leaders, Harrisburg police, about ICE in general. And we had seen that council members had confirmed they had seen a presence, but Harrisburg police, again, elaborated on the fact that these are federal agents we're talking about, and they can come in when they please. They don't really have control of that. But the Sweet 717 store, they are online and they sell to people all across the country. So it's not just here in Dauphin County.
Right. So, once again, for both sides of this, people that support ICE and what they're trying to do and don't support ICE, it's a national issue at this point. So it makes sense they would get some of that from all over. But I'm trying to put this in perspective. We certainly haven't seen any of the images that, of a mass presence of people in the streets or, hordes of people coming out of cars and abducting people. We haven't seen that. But we do know there have been arrests and there have been deportations. So there's a presence. Side note, the governor just has been outspoken lately saying that he was going to protect Pennsylvanians, from some of this stuff, meaning not necessarily cooperating if there was going to be a big police presence or a big ICE presence like is happening in Minnesota. But that's a story for a different time. When it comes down to this, when they eventually did reach back out to you, what was the tone? Were they saying, sorry, we didn't talk to you earlier, or like, this is all we're going to say, this is over? Or do they think this is really still building up steam?
I think that they think it's really still building up steam. They were apologetic that they weren't able to speak with us. And were sorry about that. They were happy to provide the statement. And obviously, as we said earlier, we understand people change their minds. It's not our job to pressure anybody to talk to us. So, we did get that statement from them, and she was sorry about that. But, what was interesting was that they weren't the only people I talked to in terms of this situation. So some of the backlash that we've been talking about comes not just from community members, but from lawmakers. And
Okay.
I had spoken to...
Let's work our way through that piece by piece. So you look out for Doug Mastriano. He is an outspoken Republican. And he is a supporter of ICE and what they're trying to do and their mission. And so when you brought up some of the things, going on with ICE nationally, and also these folks, let's start with his reaction to these local candy maker doing this.
So his reaction to just Sweet 717 doing this was that it's, quote, troubling that a organization or a store would be in support of, and these are his words, quote, murderers and rapists that ICE are trying to deport. And he did mention in that same response that Democrats are using, quote unquote, rock stars like George Floyd and Renee Good. This is all coming directly from the senator in order to further in his words, the left's message.
Right. And he also said, why don't we talk more about other victims like Laken Riley and people like that as part of, that topic. Did you broaden it out with him a little bit as well?
I did. So, I had asked him too, specifically about what's happening in Minneapolis. We know that there have been many Republican senators across the country who have been pretty vocal about what's happening. Many of them calling for Kristi Noem to resign. Some of them asking the Trump administration to do a more thorough investigation in Minneapolis. And Senator Mastriano's response to that was he's calling for Governor Walz and Mayor Frey to resign, and that he thinks ICE is doing their due diligence there.
Yeah, I mean, that has been some of the criticism is the rhetoric from both sides has ramped up the intensity. Right. And, whether it's, Frey and Walz saying, get out of here, we will fight you back. And then, it has created some tension there. And also, Trump saying we'll send more people in, we are going to do our job. That has created maybe some tension on the other side as well. So we know that tension has led to some encounters that have not turned out very well. So we'll leave it at that. Right. I know we talked to Justin Douglas as well. He had been a supporter of refugees, a supporter of immigration. So not too surprising how he came down this.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Commissioner Douglas, his response to this was that he's going to go buy marshmallows. So he's in full support of this store doing this. And he also spoke about Mastriano's comments and said that he found it upsetting that somebody in a position like Senator Mastriano's would not take accountability, in his words, for some of the actions of law enforcement, and that a lawmaker wouldn't also call for accountability and for a fair investigation. That's what Commissioner Douglas said. And, we'll have more from that specifically on our website and later tonight in our newscast that you guys will all be able to see as well.
Yeah. You wish that they could agree on some things, that, there can be accountability, but there can also be discussion about the best ways to get people who are felons, who've committed, some horrible acts in the past but are still here illegally, that they can be the ones that are, captured. And I think everyone agrees you don't want dangerous people on the streets, no matter if they're here legally or not. Right. And yet, but it gets politicized so fast. And unfortunately, it's predictable how some people are going to talk about it. But hey, we just provide all the information we can and let people go where they are. Did you talk to anybody about how they actually tasted? Are they any good?
So far, what I have been able to garner from it, I wish I could eat them because I can't eat dairy. I wish I could try one for myself, at least to see how they are. But I've heard that they're good. The pictures look good, so I hope that whoever buys them is enjoying them in that way.
Okay. All right, Alex, thanks for this topic. It's interesting, and we're just trying to navigate it through with everybody else. But now people know the topic a little bit better. So thanks a lot. All right, folks. Hey, tell us what you think about this one. And if you did get some, I want to know how they tasted. This company, they wanted to do what they could. That's what they're saying. They want to actually try to create some help, and maybe they know these people specifically in their community and they want to help them. So, hey, it's their prerogative, and it's yours to agree or disagree with them as well. And tell them what you think on Facebook, open forum, or maybe even the comments here as well. I'm Joel D. Smith. This was your 21 Next, talking about a local candy shop taking this stance against ice with marshmallows. Make sure you're looking on the rest of our website, because the comments from Doug Mastriano certainly are worth a listen to. Tell us what you think about that as well. We'll see you next time.